Holy cow, did some stuff just go down. So the Bloodhunt weekend test that just happened recently gave us a glimpse of what we'll see when the game launches on April 27th. The goal of this video isn't to go into crazy depth or detail like some of my other videos, but to give you a quick overview of the story beats that we'll see at the beginning of Season 1, and some speculation on what it could mean for the overall story of Bloodhunt. Without further ado, let's begin. First and foremost, the Elysium has continued to expand and be built upon by the characters present. Though Cultists remains in his usual spot, others have taken up more permanent places around the space. Maya has fully taken over the Hall of Amenity, and now has a lighting setup and music playing. There is new decor, furniture, and even a bar has appeared as the area slowly becomes more representative of the Toreador. Omnis has retreated underground and has begun to assemble servers and presumably begin to set up his computer network. Kirill, on the other hand, has finally revealed the intent of the large X spray painted on the wall where he was standing previously. There is now a hole in the wall leading down to what was once a Brujah meeting area. It has since fallen to ruin, but Kirill intends to reclaim the space and make it his own. In addition to these, there is also a mysterious masked venturer at the top of the stairs behind the fountain who blocks the door and refuses to give you access. He is a kindred of few words, but an unshakable will in maintaining his post. We have learned that Season 1 will be titled Retribution, and we see the arrival of Clan Ventru into the fight for Prague, seemingly just in time as the Camarilla is in dire straits. Prince Marcus is dead. The details are unclear, but speaking with Cultists and the various Primogen in Elysium reveals that they have all received the news. They are devastated, but none so much as Omnis, who considers the loss a personal failure as it was they who brought news of Marcus's survival. They lament the lack of time to double-check the information they were given, but insist that there is no doubt about the prince's final death. Though Marcus did escape from the battle with the entity at the cost of his seneschal Laraz, it was learned that he managed to make it to the St. Giles Church. An informant from Maya, who worked at the church, claims to have seen him in the catacombs during the day. Unfortunately, this is the same church that was set on fire and is actively burning, the firefighters being prevented from putting the fire out. It seems likely, and Kirill suspects, that the entity knew who Marcus was, and that the fire was a deliberate attack meant to end him. The main evidence presented is via Maya's informant, who provided video of the church fire. During the recording, an organ can be heard playing. She knows it was Marcus. It is the same music he played when he was dealing with things, and she laments that he was stuck in the building alone with music as his only solace as the flames moved closer. Along with the news comes a fear of the future. A domain without a prince is a domain that will soon fall from lack of guidance, and with the current situation in the city it will happen sooner rather than later. Maya reflects on the situation as Marcus had groomed Laraz as his successor over the past few decades, but he was lost even before the prince. Marcus's child, M, is another contender, but ultimately determines that she is far too young and is likely not a good fit. Cultists reflects on his inability to step up and lead, but says that being prince is not something he could do. Instead, Kirill has stepped forward to seize power. Never one to bandy about with his words, he wants to take immediate action against the Anarchs and seize victory from the ashes of ruin, believing that he is the only one with the drive to do what must be done. He let the others hold him back from what he needed to do before and will no longer stand for it. Though he is less fond of Kirill's methods, Cultists supports the Brujah's ascent. In these challenging times, Kirill's unrelenting personality could be their only chance to win the day. Maya and Omnis, however, are not so enthusiastic. They believe he is a warmonger that will only lead everyone to ruin. As plans are made to continue facing the threats surrounding them in these dire nights, news comes to Omnis. A message that was too late discovered to have come from the prince. Main and secret exits blocked. Find Judas. Is there a traitor in the midst of the gathered Camarilla leadership? Further investigation leads to evidence that they and others have compromising secrets or were angry with the prince, laying suspicion on each of them. Kirill had an argument with the prince about bringing Anarchs into the city for negotiations, during which Marcus threatened his position as sheriff. Does he hate them so much that removing the prince was the only way to deal with the problem? Cultists met in secret with another individual. They discussed the fear that Marcus was losing his moral bearings and joked that perhaps they should just call the Second Inquisition themselves and wipe the city clean to begin anew. Was this just venting of a frustrated keeper, or did a more sinister plot hatch from these musings? Omnis harbors a dark secret related to their generation, which the prince and seneschal have intentionally kept hidden. The prince brought them to the city and gave them the power and privilege they have. If Omnis does not assist with the convention by sharing information they have, then all could be revealed. Did Omnis make certain that their secrets would never come to light? And what is that secret? Is Omnis much older than they are presented? Younger? Perhaps they are even thin blood, explaining the predisposition towards wanting to protect the Duskborn in the city. Then there's Maya. Marcus commented in passing to her that he wanted to wake up Vasily, the former prince in Toreador who was sealed away somewhere in the Elysium in torpor. Maya perceives this as a threat, as Vasily seems to have all but kept her as a slave before Karlach abruptly ended his reign. She would do anything to prevent his return, and the only way that seems possible to her is to remove Marcus from power. Only time will tell if the truth may come to light. As things begin to settle into the new norm, intel begins to come in from various sources. Cultists have begun to appear in the city. Though their agenda is unknown, they seem to be trying to escalate the conflict between the Camarilla and the Anarchs. Who could they be? On one hand, this may just be an in-game explanation for the bots that the new players encounter when they play for the first time, which are labeled as cultists, but it could also turn into a bigger story hook that may come into play later on. We'll have to see what develops in future acts and seasons. Now that you've had a brief rundown of how Season 1 will open, what are you most looking forward to seeing when Bloodhunt launches? Who do you think the traitor could be? Let me know in the comments. Also feel free to make requests for other videos you might like to see.